The clearing up operation at Lansdowne Road less than 24 hours after the worst scenes of violence ever witnessed at an Irish international soccer match. In the aftermath of the trouble today, the questions are being asked. How did it happen and who was at fault? These are the questions which the FAI and the Gardaí will have to answer in the coming days and weeks. It was clear from the kick-off that trouble was in the air, booing and Nazi salutes at the playing of the national anthems. But the real trouble flared up minutes after the Irish goal was scored. The questions have to be asked. Why were the English fans on the top deck of the West Stand and some Irish fans mixed in with them? Were the security arrangements adequate? A number of Irish fans have said there was no Garda presence whatever on the upper stand when the match began. Alan Hunter says the FAI certainly have questions to answer.
In the last couple of years, there has been a tendency with the FAI to want to know exactly how much money they can get out of you.
But the most damning evidence of all that something went horribly wrong in the ticket allocation comes from some of the home supporters. Brian Doody and 4 of his friends are ardent followers of the Irish team. Brian has been at the last 2 World Cups and all home internationals for the past 10 years. Last night he and his friends found themselves in the front row of the West Upper Stand, surrounded by hundreds of English fans.
I was up in the upper tier in the West Stand at Lansdowne Road, surrounded by English supporters. They were literally in our seats when we tried to sit down. They moved and they were just all around us in the aisles and everything.
But where did you get your ticket from?
We got them from the FAI. After we block booked 10-year tickets, they gave us this complimentary, about 5 of us.
But people were told, we were under the impression that no Irish fans were meant to be where the English fans were.
It's even stamped Visitors Association on this, and we got it definitely from the FAI.
So it should have, that is obviously an English ticket that you have in
Yes, it was destined for English fans.
And how frightening was it up there?
Terrifying, to be honest. There was just punches and kicks coming from all directions. There was a little boy behind me. I saw him getting dragged out of it. There was an elderly man who was punched as well right in front of us.
And when you arrived at the beginning, did you sense trouble?
Yes, a lot of tension in the air. A lot of the English now, they were just waiting for something to spark them off. And there was definitely going to be trouble.
The tickets which Brian and his friends had for last night's friendly match were for the West Upper Stand. Written across it is Visitors Association, clearly not meant for Irish fans. The Upper West Stand was not the only place where there was trouble. Brian Murphy and his friends were in another part of the ground.
For starters, they're saying the West Stand was the problem. We were on the North Terrace and there was a piece sectioned off for English fans. There was about 40, seemed to be fairly young people. They looked like if they had no tickets, they just put in there. But the incident started when we actually were leaving the ground. They actually got out of that section by a back gate, which there was only 3 policemen actually on that part of the ground. And when we went back down in the tunnel, there was no way really getting out of the ground because, in fact, it was sort of bring back sort of thinking, well, this is going to be a disaster, it's going to be like Hillsborough, because actually our feet were off the ground.
This evening, the chief executive of the FAI, Sean Connolly, confirmed the organisation was now carrying out its own internal inquiry into what happened last night.
Whether or no, even if there were to be an outside commission set up either by the government itself or indeed by the 2 football associations, we would still carry out at this precise moment in time our own internal investigation. Many of the people working in the stadium were FAI, if you like, employees and so on. We need to talk to those people now and see what happened.
How can you explain how the English fans were, so many of them were there, and people who were obviously going to commit violent acts? Your people surely were told about this, were they? There seems to be some confusion.
No, I think I was listening to the Manchester policeman talking this morning, and he seems to have sent lists of people or lists of numbers of seats or whatever to the police force here some days ago. We certainly were not aware of that list. Our people, our stewards, were not aware of those people coming along until right up against the time itself.
So are you saying the FAI never knew that there were troublemakers on their way, that there were a list of 50 people who perhaps were involved in this type of violence?
We were not aware of any list of people coming in that event. We expected to have the usual troubled people that you get at matches, 15, 20 people, and we geared up accordingly to deal with that 15 or 20 people.
But what of the tickets meant for English fans which were given out to Irish supporters by the FAI?
In this particular occasion, we had arranged, no matter how many seats the English people sold, from left to right, we have segregation organised between them. We had a double row of security
But they
cordon
weren't
between them.
segregated. They were in the front row, and there were English fans behind them.
There may well have been one or two of those.
There was 5 of them.
There may well have
One
been.
of
which
his
issued,
colleagues had his nose broken.
there may well have been some of those issued, and if we do for that, we're deeply
that's it.
apologetic.